Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Kevin, Heather Marie, D. What's up? What's up, Wanda? Kelly, good to see you. What's up, Susie? SP74. Kelly, good morning. She Warrior 64. Hello. Can you guys hear me okay? Apologize. I'm having some breakfast. So I might be muting it when I'm chomping on this melon. Good, D. Yeah, you got that long stretch of it. Thanks, Kevin. Mark Sullivan, morning coffee, morning bowl of Wheaties, morning conversation. Good start so far. Yep, that's how I feel. I was going to go live yesterday in the morning, but I was in a really crappy mood. Do you ever just feel irritated? Like, no matter what anybody says, it's just irritating. You're just irritated no matter what. That's how I was feeling yesterday. Hey, Jari, Melissa K, Katie Owens. Good to see you guys. Arch, what up? Pimpin'. Kels, what's up? Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate the feedback. What's up, Digi? Good morning, Indy. Julianne, hello. There's Dawn. What's up, Dawn? Okay, so this morning I made it. I was going to read the probable cause for arrest for Richard Allen. I made it to page 2 before I had all kinds of questions. So we'll talk about that for a little bit. We'll talk about that 4chan stuff. That way, you guys have an opportunity to speak on it. We can clear the air if anybody has anything they would like to add to that or clear up or anything. We'll try to break it down pretty good today. We'll spend like 15, 20 minutes on that. But we're going to spend most of today's live stream on Richard Allen's PCA and some questions that I have. Skin crawling. Yeah, it's kind of like a skin crawling feeling. It's just like, like you just want to, like you can't shake it. So I don't know. I think it was it might have been the herb that I had. I don't know. I just chucked it. There was only like a couple grams left. But I don't know what was up with it. Could have just been in between me being sick, being a little bronchial. That was a bit annoying. But mostly it was just like I chopped it up to my diet. I hadn't been drinking a lot of water, wasn't eating healthy. I think I had like Chipotle or some nasty shit before that. Chipotle's got to be like the worst food out there, guys. Oh, dang. Thank you, Cindy. Some good mood juice. Well, that's definitely a start. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. Hey, Patricia. Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, Sloopy. Haven't seen you in a bit. How are you? What's up, Frank? Yeah, that was really nice of you. $10. Hey, Indy. Yeah, Chipotle. Oh, man. So I had it maybe like a couple weeks back because my daughter loves it. And I always get the really hot sauce. And I was like, oh, that's got to be what's like making my stomach hurt. So I was like, I'm not getting any of that hot sauce this time. And I'm not going to eat the whole burrito. You know, that thing's like 2 pounds or some shit. So I ate half the burrito, no hot sauce, and it still made me feel like shit. So I'm not eating that anymore, ever. Yeah, Cindy, it's not good. And the thing is, all it was filled with was rice and beans and some cheese and some steak. Man, it had me sick for like 2 days. Truffles. It's like yucky. It really is. And the meat was like all fatty. I was like, oh man, this is just not good. Yeah. So I think it was a combination of things. Lack of fluids, nasty ass Chipotle, recovering from the vid, the Kung flu, and some bad herb. So I can't mess with that hybrid. It has to be like all sativa, or it just adds to my clouded brain. Frank, I shut down my Discord. I don't need that thing beeping while I'm live, man. If you can shoot me an email if you want to. Qdoba. What's up, JJ? Qdoba. I don't know what that is. I'm in Arizona. I don't know if I've ever seen a Qdoba. Sounds fancy. Hey, Miss Thang. Bossy. Libby was the target, in my honest opinion. Abby was a victim of circumstances. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. I was asking myself, good to see you, Bossy. I was asking myself, where did we get this idea that Libby was the target? We get that idea from the Erskine text, right? And that's why I think it was so easy for us to look at Kagan Klein if he's catfishing Libby and she's the target. I mean, it makes sense, right? But on page 2 of the probable cause affidavit, I found some conflicting information about that. Frank, I'm checking out your email now. Oh, that's interesting. I'll take a look at that. Hey, Stefa, how are you? Am I saying it right? Qdoba. I feel like something might be silent. Hey, Miss Thang. Yeah, no more fast food when it comes to Mexican food for me. It's my favorite food, and I'll get cravings even for Taco Bell. And then when I go eat Taco Bell, I'm like, this isn't what I was craving. You know what I mean? Yeah, we don't eat a lot of fast food. Hey, Jari, it's not fancy, same kind of food as Chipotle. Thank you. Kagan Klein had some role in this. I believe he does. I believe that he does. But I also got to ask myself, why do I believe that? And a lot of times it comes down to the Erskine text, um, and the fact that the Anthony Shots account was speaking directly to Libby. So that would seem targeted, right? And then they also have the Barbara McDonald interview where Kagan said that Tony Klein was using the Anthony Shots account. So don't forget that Kagan specifically said that to Barbara McDonald. That Tony Klein was using the Anthony Shots account. What is he using the Anthony Shots account for? It could only be for one thing, right? Catfishing. Oh yeah. Nobody nothing 1717. What's up? How's your morning going? Yeah, I can get down on some Taco Bell breakfast. It's just cheesy eggs, really. Depends on how much of a hurry I am. That sounds like something I'll grab on my way to golf. But usually it's gas station food and a Red Bull and a couple shooters. One of those nasty gas station turkey sandwiches, a Red Bull, and some Jack Daniel shooters. It's the breakfast of champions right there. Oh yeah, street tacos are the shiznit. Digital says, was Flannel Shirt Guy actually confirmed to be on the bridge? I haven't been able to confirm it. Um, Becky, Patty, and everybody who tells the story about what was going on when they were looking for the girls, they just mention a gentleman, an older gentleman. We get Flannel Shirt Guy from Anthony Greeno. Said he spoke with him directly. But yeah, we can't just take things as fact. We got to verify all this information. Because what happens is we start to pancake it, start to stack each piece of information, until it's ready for the syrup. So I want to make sure all my pancakes have blueberries. Crunch wrap with Hasbrock and jalapeno sauce. Damn. SB74, that's quite the spectrum. Some breakfast of champions right there. Lunning Chapel. No. Indy, when would you not want street tacos en elote? Come on now. Corn on the cup sounds bomb. Steffa says, yeah, AG told me quite a bit of things that were inaccurate when I went to my first memorial walk. So, yeah, so we got to be careful, you know. Not saying he did anything wrong. He probably thought he was right or thought he had inside information, or maybe he is right. I don't know. I just don't understand how we can't verify it. Nobody's talking about it. See? What's up, Mama Styles? I only eat blueberry pancakes. Yeah, there better be blueberries in my pancake. Otherwise, there's no substance. So careful how you stack them. If you stack them, tall enough, it looks like the truth. There's people that don't believe in coincidences, but honestly, it happens all the time for law enforcement. They got the guy that was there. He looks just like the killer. He may even have some evidence at the crime scene. They're going to arrest him and they're going to say, hey, look, you can tell the judge why you weren't there. And then when it goes to trial, they find the actual guy and he could be this guy's brother. Like there are coincidences that happen. So you can't convict people off coincidences. And you can't, have verification off of a series of coincidences. Doesn't make it a fact. Does it make it interesting? Heck yeah, sometimes, especially with this whole Keegan Klein thing. That's a Denny's breakfast and a half right there. That pile of pancakes has whipped cream and strawberries on the top. Did Richard Allen know them? Hey, Kimberly. I think possibly he knew them, but they didn't know him. Maybe he was part of a catfishing with Libby. Maybe he was hired help. Yeah, I have a feeling he could have been recruited. I just don't understand how he can kill both of those girls. So he must have killed, if it's just him and he's out targeting, he's not connected with Kagan, he must have killed one of the victims very quickly and then chased down the other one. And did all the weird stuff after he caught most likely Libby, because I don't think he could. I mean, he could have carried her, but it would have been very difficult for him to do it and not be seen. So, if anything, he carried the lighter victim to where he had chased Libby to. And another reason why I believe that is the Erskine text. How much truth is in those text messages? Says he was targeting Libby and he knew what he was doing with Abby. To me, that's a quick, he says in the neck or in the chest or something. That's like quick stabbing motion and then the chase. And then you come back and bring one of the victims over there. And that could be the moving and the staging. He may not have moved both of them. He may have covered one and then went and moved the other. Digital says, I think with the Patty's influence, property involvement, etc., most people at least would have known who Libby was. Just my opinion. Well, when it comes to Richard Allen, he seems like he was like, kept to himself. His neighbors say they didn't have any parties, they didn't have people over, they weren't loud. So if he was involved in anything, I think it would have been pretty hush hush. Hey V, you hanging out with your mom at the doctor's office? Hope everything goes well for you guys over there. Yeah, Libby was more vocal and outgoing. Here, let's pull up page 2 of the PCA. Okay, Erskine texts are troublesome to me. He claims one of the girls fought like hell, but in the Logan warrant, there are no defensive wounds. Contradicting statement. Also claim one crawled, but they are found within 2 feet. With the crawling, I think that could have to do with maybe signs that she was maybe leaned up against something. And then from that point, she may have moved a little bit, or maybe something in the grass or in the ground, like claw marks or something like that. Hey, what's up, Grizz? Good to see you. Banterline says none of the girls' DNA was found on Logan's property as far as the murder scene. Yeah, he would have been arrested. He did have plenty of time to hide it, but I just don't know how you can hide something you can't see. Like, how do you know if there was one drop of blood or hair, or, how do you know? Tex also claims both girls were staged, but one crawled away. Okay, we'll start right here. Through interviews, reviews of electronic records, and review of video at the Hoosier Harvest Store, investigators believe victim 1 and victim 2 were dropped off across from the Mears farm at 1:49 p.m. on the 13th by Kelsey. The Mears farm is located on the north side of County Road 300 North near an entrance to the trails. A video from victim 2's phone shows that at 2:13 p.m., victim 1 and victim 2 encountered a male subject on the southeast portion of the Monon High Bridge. The male ordered the girls down the hill. No witnesses saw them after this time. No outgoing communications were found on victim 2's phone after this time. Their bodies were discovered February 14th. The video recovered from victim 2's phone shows victim 1 walking northeast on the Monon High Bridge while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. As the male subject approaches victim 1 and victim 2, one of the victims mentions gun. Near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the girls. Okay, this is where I want to focus a lot of our attention today. It says here, near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the girls, guys down the hill. So now we know why Doug Carter said this is one person, right? But the part I want to focus on right now is that they seen him. So if they can see him saying these words, how the hell do they not know who he is? If you can see him saying, guys, down the hill, how do you not know who this man is? If you can see him with his mouth moving and saying those words, how do you not know who he is? So I got caught up on that part. And why didn't they show that part? Why didn't they show him in the video saying, guys, down the hill? Why would they not show it? It doesn't make any sense. Thank you, D. Secret Agent Dracula Jones, what up? Mark Sullivan, face covering. So this whole time we've been looking at this guy's face on that bridge. I think it's been covered the entire time. Don't, Doug Carter and Kim Riley, don't focus on the head, focus on the mannerisms. Somebody recognizes the way this guy walks, his gait. They didn't want you looking at the face. Dreaming is free. How far in advance was the day off scheduled? I think it was scheduled far in advance. And I think it was the second one. They had snow day the week prior. So they were going back to back like 3-day weekends. Libby was out doing her thing. She's hanging out with friends, having fun. So that week prior to the crime, there could have been something that happened between either her, Libby, Abby, and Richard Allen. There could have been some kind of confrontation, some kind of something that happened that motivated Richard Allen. Like, imagine if he did something like that where he was catfishing and he got caught and his wife's gone. She's taking care of her brother and her mother. Or, well, her mother at this point, because her brother would have had passed away very recent to the crime. So let's imagine her going through all of this. And then you got this dipshit over here catfishing a young girl and then gets caught by her. What if she was like, yeah, there's nothing you could do. I'm going to tell your wife. I'm going to, and he's like, oh, hell no. Like, imagine how much, there's no forgiveness for that. Like, imagine your brother just died. You have to go take care of your mother, and then your spouse is trying to cheat on you, which is already bad enough, but with a child. To me, that would be a hell of a secret. And if that's your entire life, your high school sweetheart, you married her, the only person maybe you've even been with your entire life, it's your only friend. You don't go out, you just drink in the front yard. Anytime you do go out, it's with this person. That may be motivation. The dishonor. There's no coming back from that. Everything that you've done before that is pointless. You are now starting from scratch to rebuild who you are. If it's even possible. Hey, what's up, Keith? I have read this 1,000 times and did not notice that it was stated he was seen saying it. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Doug Carter said the person on the bridge is the person saying guys down the hill. So he tried to explain to us. But then you had Burston, who's over here going, what do you guys think in the TV business? What's over here to the left and over here to the right? You guys don't know. And he's kind of framing it up. So a lot of the shit they said was misleading. But Doug Carter cleared it up in the New Direction presser. He says, This is one person. Well, now we know why. But why didn't they show that video? Why wouldn't they show it? And if they can see it, that's got to be much better. Um, but yeah, why show it if his face is covered up? The only reason they would show the other video is so you can see how he's walking. So this leans more to the fact that his face was covered than everybody that's trying to, like, including myself, analyze the image may have been a complete waste of time because his face is covered. And I had mentioned that a few times that it appears that his face is covered. And if his face is covered, does that mean it's premeditated? Hey, rescue all the dogs with the super sticker. Shout out to you. Thank you. Seeing him say could mean just person was speaking but didn't see his mouth moving. It's not what it says here. It says near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the girls, guys down the hill. You can't start skewing that sentence. It's clear. Seen and heard telling the girls, guys down the hill. Don't make it into something that it's not. They're telling you right now what happened. Banter line says, did Alan's wife work that day or part-time? It is my understanding. Hold on. Had a frog in my throat. It's my understanding she was in Peru and she was taking care of her mother at the time. See, her younger brother used to take care of her mother after her father passed away, but he died suddenly after a motorcycle accident that happened the end of September of 2016. So she was spending a lot of time in Peru taking care of her mother. And we also know who else lives in Peru. And if Richard Allen's out there hanging out with, his wife, and she's going through a depression, he might want to spend some time out on his own. With no real social media footprint, what's he going to do? He's going to call maybe an old classmate, some old buddies from his high school days. What's up, Jinx? Normally, kids wouldn't be out there that day at that time. Is that right? Normally, yes. So there is a chance he had no clue. It is possible. Who? The girls? Yeah, I believe the girls did go geocaching down there. Well, at least Libby did. With Kelsey, I think. Adolfo Ortiz says he was masked up. Sounds like it. Hey, Chopper says maybe KK dropped him in it. Richard Allen killed them to tidy it all up. Well, I have a feeling he took it too far. If he's not a social media guy and he doesn't quite understand what Keegan's doing, Kagan is living a fantasy world. It's not reality. And he's okay with that. Because he knows if they see him in real life, the fantasy's gone, right? He has no intention But if somebody's like, "Hey, do you know any girls?" Like, "What are we doing, Kagan? Like, your dad went to work. Like, don't you know any girls?" "Oh, check this out," and he starts showing all this nasty shit, all this CSAM, and he's like, starts getting into it, like, "Oh my gosh, like, you convince him to send you photos and everything?" He's like, "Yeah, it works. Can I have access to this?" "Sure." Or maybe he doesn't even ask. Maybe he just gains access. He's like, "I know that girl. I recognize her. Can I have access to this profile?" He doesn't have to be best friends with Kagan Klein to hang out with him one time, you know? Thank you, D. Hey, Kristen, what's up? Always good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you, Kristen. Mama Style says Pokemon Go was still pretty big at the time. Maybe he told her he was out doing that. I don't know about Pokemon Go, but um, 1:30. So we know that Richard Allen got there about 1:30, right? And we know that the girls left the Patty residence at 1:30. So there's another strange coincidence. Anthony Schatz is telling him, "Hey, I'll be there. I'll be there at 1:30." Or B, I'm going to be across the bridge. I'm going to be under the south end of the bridge at 1:45. And then right at that moment, Kelsey walks in the room and is like, "Hey, I'm going to my boyfriend's house." And they're like, "Oh, you're going to your boyfriend's house? Hey, can you drop us off at the trails?" Like it was just like that perfect timing. Like, "Hey, can you drop us off?" Yeah. Okay. So they don't got time to get all ready and whatever. And for all we know, they were up. We know that they were up late. So who were they talking to? Were they up flirting with these guys? Um were they exposed the night before or sometime during the weekend before and threatened by the girls? Shit, maybe they were even extorted. Like I could see them like, "Well, if you give me some money, maybe I won't say anything. Maybe I'll choose to forget this." Yeah, it could have been a horrible miscalculation. Arch says, "If we go back and examine Carter's clues, we can learn a lot. It wouldn't surprise me if he already has told us the entire story." Well, he's mentioned that he knows exactly what happened under the bridge. He just doesn't know the name, of the player, that one piece. But he says we know exactly what happened. He knows how the crime flow played out. Well, usually scene would involve can't involve the victims because they can't say, "Well, I seen this." The only thing that scene can be is their own scene, their own eyes from the video. Because he had the gun, that's why they didn't show him. Well, they could have zoomed in on his face. You don't have to show the gun. Banter says, "If you recall Alan and his wife on vacation in Tennessee, her at the bar drinking shots, hair pulled up, basketball cap on. She looks younger than her age." They didn't want to reveal the gun yet. Only Tony Klein had Mondays off and Kagan had every day off. Was Allen still trucking at that time or was he working at CVS? He was working at CVS. And he had only been in Delphi for about 5 years at that point. So he wasn't it's possible he wasn't well known, you know? Well, the sketch came from the Muddy and Bloody Lady. She provided the older sketch. We know that because of the second presser. Kim Riley says, "Yeah, we got new information, and he says, along with some other witnesses and the video, but mostly the Muddy and Bloody witness was the reason for the older looking sketch, which actually looks like Richard Allen, right? It looks just like him. So I think the better question is, why did they change directions? Okay, let me finish reading here. There's another interesting fact here. Victim 1 and Victim two's deaths were ruled a homicide. Clothes were found in the Deer Creek belonging to Victim 1 and Victim 2 south of where their bodies were located. Okay, so to me, they're talking about the leaked images, right? And we know from the leaked images that they. Here, let me put these up on the screen. Now, if they found clothing from both of the victims and Libby was completely undressed, why did they find anything from Abby? Did he convince them both to cross? Like, hey, take off your shoes and your socks, and we're just going to walk across this creek. Is that possible? I don't know if he was a trucker. I know he had some dealings with a trucking company. Gura says that video shows him telling the girls down the hill. So if they can see him saying it, he must have had his face covered. But why not show his eyes or something? Did he have glasses on? What are we missing? Kevin says the one thing that gets me is DC saying this was the worst crime he's ever been involved with in his career. If you look at DC's rundown, he's been involved with way worse unspeakable crimes. Yeah, there's something at that crime scene that just wasn't right. That was horrid. Not that all of it wasn't horrid, but something in particular. Yeah, don't let yourself get confused by it. It's pretty clear cut, Karen. Karen says they could mean seen and heard, but not concurrently, consecutively. That doesn't make any sense. It says clearly they seen and heard, which means there wasn't anybody behind them. They know for a fact that somebody wasn't yelling it from down the hill. They seen the man on the bridge, and they could see that the words are coming out of his mouth. They know it's him speaking. If BG is covering his face, has a firearm and a blade, plus sort of hurrying toward the bridge, yes, these are signs it was premeditated. Yeah, there's a lot of signs it was premeditated. For one, like, why is he... Libby doesn't even have a jacket on. Abby barely has a jacket on. They're not dressed warm. It's like 50 degrees out there. And look how he's dressed. He's dressed like he's in the middle of a blizzard. He's got shit stuffed inside of his jacket pockets or something. Either he was going there for something else and ended up doing this, but he was prepared for something, in my opinion. Banter line seen and heard. You can be heard under a mask. Yeah, I'm thinking it was like a cloth where you can see it moving as he's talking. That white cloth thing that was found. I think that's what he was using to cover his face. So the PCA says there was clothing from the girls found south of where they were discovered. So this must have been just directly south of where they were located. And I don't know if this is what I'm looking at here, but this is directly south of the crime scene. A little bit, to me, it appears a little bit further east than directly south. But I think this is where the clothing was. Question is, did the killer come and throw the clothing? Or did he kill them right here in this water and then pull them up over the hill? And the clothing just gets stuck here. So I'll show you where I think I found the clothing. Down at the bottom right corner, you can kind of see him searching. So the crime scene is supposedly somewhere right in here, like back here a little bit. And the clothing is found right here. If that's what we're seeing on this image. You can kind of see it through the trees here, right here. And honestly, where these guys are standing is the end of that trail. If you were to force somebody down the hill and force them as far away from the bridge, eventually you come to a point where you have a cliff on one side and you have to go into the water. So that's the end of the road right there. So it makes sense that they did cross right there. See, now you can kind of see it right here to the left. So if the clothing is south of where they were found, that means they were found just directly above this. Jinx says, I think seen is getting misconstrued for saw his face. Well, how else are you going to see somebody say something if you're not looking at their face? If I'm looking at the back of somebody's head, how do I know that their lips are moving if without seeing their face? I think they found out who Richard Allen was before the murders. Somehow they were set up then. Curious to why Libby reset her phone. Yeah, that part's hard to get over. And I also heard that she was grounded from her phone. So the phone was reset and then taken away for a week and given back the morning of the murders. Have to verify that somehow. Okay. And the final thing I wanted to talk about here, let me pull this back up. I think it actually continues on. Oh, here it is. Victim 1 and Victim two's death were ruled as homicides. Clothes were found in the Deer Creek belonging to Victim 1 and Victim 2 south of where their bodies were located. There was also a 40 caliber unspent round less than 2 feet away from Victim two's body. Okay. So we'll stop here real quick. Now, Erskine says this in those text messages. Let me go back. Okay. He says they were not bounded. They were touching but not tied together. Abby was dressed. Libby was nude. Libby's top half was covered with leaves. See, now some of this isn't contradicting because we see Libby's shirt. So that part kind of matches up. Libby's top half was covered with leaves and sticks, almost like they were trying to cover her. My question is, how is the unspent bullet found 2 feet from one victim and not the other, and yet they're still touching? To me, that's impossible, right? Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me, Mama Styles. Like they actually seen his face and it was covered. That would explain the reason why once they released the video, they kept saying, "Hey, like, do not pay attention to this guy's head. Cut his head off. Like in your mind, cut it off. Just watch the way he walks, his mannerisms." Duke Nukem, what's up? She may have been cheating on him. She looked friendly in the pool video. Women cheat when major things in their life happen. Yeah, that could be something to set him off. And if not set him off, at least justify it in his mind somehow. Maybe he was trying to hurt her. There's a lot of crimes that get solved where uh, I've noticed when they interview family members that are like touching the kids or whatever, they ask them like, "Why'd you do it?" And there's some kind of bad relationship going on between them and their spouse, and it's almost like a payback. Like I wanted to embarrass them, I wanted to bring, dishonor them, whether or not it included themselves or not. I always wondered if the persons involved scrambled the face of BG. Scrambled? Well, we had the young witnesses were interviewed right away, like within the first few days. But the muddy and bloody witness wasn't interviewed for 2 months. Hey, Joe. Yeah, so I don't know what to make of the Erskine stuff. It could just be him not knowing, filling in the blanks. He has a lot of information, but then on other things, he just kind of fills in the blanks. Yeah, let me put that back up for you. Okay, it says near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the girls guys down the hill. So I'm wondering if okay, it makes sense now what Kristen was saying, and a couple of you were commenting. Maybe the gun was by his face. You know, he has the gun out and he's pointing it at him and he's kind of got it up in the air right where his face is located. And they didn't want that information out. So that could be another reason. So the gun wasn't below his face. Maybe all the images where you could see his face and him saying it, he also has this gun up, you know. I don't know. I'm just try to figure out why they didn't show that video. I don't understand why they're not showing the video now. The real video. They they laid it out in detail in the PCA. They say you can see victim 1 in the video. Okay. So that's no longer hidden. Why not show the original video now? Makes no sense. Thanks, Frank. Yeah, if you guys could hit the like button, I'd appreciate that. It'll help move this video to the front of the line. Between that and the multiple vehicles at the CPS building, I think these are possible evidence of others involved. Yeah. Also, I believe the DNA that they found does not belong to Richard Allen. So they know he's there, but if they have clues and information that leads to another perp, Kate says, I don't think his face was covered during the video. I'm starting to think that. They couldn't see it if he was masked. Sure, they could. Have you ever covered your face with a cloth? You can see your when you talk, the cloth moves, and you can see your lips moving underneath it. Are Tony and Richard close in age? Yes, they're both like early 50s, I believe. And I think Richard went to Peru High School, right? Yeah, Mandy. Good to see you, by the way. Yeah, Banterline says since Allen first role at CVS was developing photos, I think he took a camera. Allen's wife was into photography. Well, the neighbors said they witnessed law enforcement taking out small booklets. So I'm wondering what was in there. Maybe these were like small occult books. Maybe it ties in with some of the signatures. Hey, what's up, Bogey? Mama Style says that could have been why Shots paid them. They threatened to go to the cops. Yeah, they could have completely underestimated the danger of the situation. And that's why these predators pick these young victims because they have no clue what they're up against. They might get these kind of ideas in their head without really understanding the consequences and what type of world they're living in. They're just too young. They haven't seen it yet. Miss Thang says maybe KK knew Richard Allen was looking to mess around on KA. Set up the girls to meet Anthony Shots, and it was Richard Allen. They recognized him, and he had to silence him. Yeah, I'm thinking something like that happened. I'm thinking that Richard Allen, not knowing a lot about social media, may have gotten a little excited. Like, whoa, this is really cool. He doesn't have to go create anything. If he has this Anthony Shots thing going on, and he's continuing to communicate with the girls well after the 3rd of February when they first met Anthony Shots, who knows what Richard Allen's doing? Richard Allen and KK could have stumbled upon each other one time and the account access was given. Maybe that's the only link. Exactly. Kagan's like, I'll face all my charges. I did all this stuff, but I had nothing to do with the murder of those girls. Yeah, I might have some information about it, or I might be able to point you in the direction of who might be responsible, but I didn't do anything. Shoot, they've been together since high school. They were high school sweethearts. All right. So I think we're going to close it out with this weird 4chan stuff. Give you guys an opportunity to either leave some comments about what you might know about them or ask me questions about what I think about them. So February 2020, you got people talking about a guy named Richard. And the same person is also acting like they're trying to cover it. They say a lot of things like this. No, I meant to say Richly. There isn't any Richard. He had nothing to do with it. Let's not pretend the police aren't aware. See, they know who this guy is. And they say, there isn't any Richard. He had nothing to do with it. People are like, okay. This one's really interesting. Sunday, February 23rd, 2020 at 7:26. Just because there was a video of Richard on the train tracks doesn't mean he did it. The cops are smart enough to know this and have probably interrogated him already. It was a dead end. Either that or he has connections. It was probably someone from out of town. Who knows though? So I remember reading this in 2020. So I remember one time I think I was on Gray Hughes channel or something, and I was just happened to stop by there and was in the comments. And I made mention of this, and I couldn't find it. I looked for it, couldn't find it, but I made mention of this comment saying, "Hey, people were mentioning," but I didn't know the name Richard. But I remember reading this comment here that the cops are smart enough to know this and have probably interrogated him. So I mentioned that in the comments, and of course, people were like, well, not people, but Gray Hughes was like, "Oh no, that's just confusion about the two sketches." It's like, no. And then I've actually found it, and there's his name in the comment, Richard. So it seems like this could be a friend, family member, like, you know, like, why are you guys still talking about the guy on the bridge? You had nothing to do with it. It's like they knew who he was, but that he wasn't part of the crime. They're like, yeah, certain people knew that it was Richard Allen on the tracks, but they also knew that he had been cleared. They knew that he had spoken with investigators or quote unquote conservation officer, but they knew that he had been cleared. So it was almost like they were confused. And there was a couple of other platforms where I seen comments just like this. Like, no, we know who the guy on the bridge is. He's been cleared by law enforcement. I don't know why they haven't come out and publicly said it. And then all the comments underneath it are like, oh no, you're confused about it. It's always goes back to the sketches. But with the name actually placed here of Richard, we now know that these people actually knew who was on that bridge. But they also knew that he was interviewed already. They're like, yeah, I know who the guy on the bridge is, but I also know that he was interviewed. So why do you guys keep asking who this guy is? Good to see you, Mel. Dressed to Kill. Yeah, let's go ahead and pull that up. Let's take a look at him. He's not dressed according to the weather, in my opinion. Cindy Lean commented, "What I often think about is when Doug Carter said, 'I wish we could have protected you,' or something along those lines. Then Mike Patty saying Doug owed him." Dressed across the water, he was prepared. All right, absolutely. Well, I mean, what is all of this? Like, he's got multiple layers on. He's got things bulging right here. He's got things in his pocket. He's got what appears to be his hand on a gun shoved in one of his pockets. He's got something right here. And the girls were basically acting like it was a summer day almost. UK Perspective says Snapchat had GPS tracking back then. According to Derek Farmer, who's been looking into it, he said that they didn't have GPS tracking, but they were partnered up with the Yellow app. So if you wanted to track your friends, you could through that partnership. but I'll have to look more into that. Thank you, D. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. We do have a members only meeting tonight with Steve from True Crime Web. We're going to talk about his experience as a retired homicide investigator. We'll probably even talk about the Idaho murders, Koberger, um, the time that Steve spent in Delphi. He was doing his own investigation. I'm going to ask him about that. And then just a couple of other cases, Evansdale, Flora. So, yeah, we're going to pick his brain tonight. Get his opinion, get a professional opinion on everything. I have heard that, Cindy. Um, Logan affidavit says they were killed where they were found. No signs of a struggle. But that affidavit also says they were dropped off at 1 p.m. So I don't know what to think about that. I don't put too much into that affidavit. What's up, Chief? Have we considered that girls were led down the hill on same side of the bridge that bodies were found? I mean, we considered it. There's just nothing to point at that. Because you can't really go down the hill right there. You can go under the bridge, but then it's just like a cliff. You would have to go all the way around the side. And if they have a video, it says in the affidavit that they actually have video of them going down the hill and then it stops. So from everything I've seen, it's pretty clear that they did go down on the south end. But yeah, I've wondered that myself. And it's good to ask those questions because we don't know. Dreaming is free. They often kill near water, some type of cleansing in their deranged mind. Yeah, and it could have been successful if he was there, committed the murder, and tried to clean all the DNA away. That could have caused a whole bunch of problems for investigators, maybe. Bogey says the case was ice cold until they discovered Richard Allen. ISP lost its patience and sent their own detectives to look at the case. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Bossy. Gets them to cross. Once they cross, then he threatens them or just attacks them out of the blue. Could have even used a ruse. Yeah, when I hear about a strange crime scene, I think about panic. It's the first thing that pops in my mind is panic. What have I done? If they were covered with leaves and things, that's panic and shame, guilt, instant guilt. And then him being down there for an hour and 45 minutes, more panic. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Probably hang out and finish up the comments in chat and then get out of here. Thank you, D. I was thinking to try to destroy any DNA evidence on the girl's clothing. Yeah, maybe that's the reason he took off the clothing. He never intended for it to be a sexual assault. It was just a 100% murder. And maybe he got some of his blood or something on the shirt. I'm not sure. And tried to clean it off in the water. I'm not sure. I don't think he panicked. He was in assassin mode, armed to kill. Yeah, he could have been just following a plan that he put together. What's up, Brian? I still believe that the client sold or traded the Anthony Shots login info to Richard Allen for kitty porn or money. And it was he who was messaging the girls the morning they were killed. Well, the thing is that the Anthony Shots account logged in and out at Kagan's home at 8 a.m. in the morning. And it wasn't to Instagram. It wasn't to Facebook. It was to Snapchat. Yeah. I believe that that was Richard Allen. Dreamin', I don't think so. Not that I know of. Thanks, D. Yep, that's a good point, Bossy. South would also be downstream from there. My guess he was expecting the clothing to get caught up in the log jams. Yeah, he could have just been throwing it, you know? CJK says, not if an arm or leg was spread out, moved out, and then they could be touching. But if they were just, let's say they were barely touching and spread out, and the bullet was found 2 feet from one of the victims, but we also know that it was found in between the victims. So how is it 2 feet from one of the victims? If they're touching, it's got to be close to 2 feet to the other victim, right? So why wouldn't they just say 2 feet from in the center between both victims? My point is that I just don't think, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. I don't see how they're touching, bullets in between both victims, and then also 2 feet from what sounds like the closest victim. Mark says, and how would he know they were touching? Well, the thing is, let's say you have a wound, and then you have evidence that that wound was pressed up against something, right? You can see that maybe her back was up against something, and then now her back is no longer against it, but you can see evidence that it was. Yeah, I wonder that myself, Brian. CVS seems like a place, you would go multiple times in a small town. It's basically a gas station, really. Um, Bogey, I think Erskine was asked if they were bound or tied. He was like, "No, they weren't tied, but they were touching." Yeah, it's a good point. SP-74 never said how far apart they were. Yeah, and I'm just trying to clear up some of the stuff that we found in the Erskine text versus what we know to be true from the PCA and other things. Like, let's say an arm is touching a leg, or maybe just both their legs are touching and they're completely pointing in opposite directions. Cold Truth says, I think those texts are real, but they could be fake. So it's hard to really deduce much. Yeah, I agree. We don't know. There's always that human element. We don't know what their motivation was. Maybe they thought they were doing something to help, to mislead. Or maybe they were trying to impress somebody and just adding things in there, for shock value or to appear as if they know. Some facts mixed with make believe. Arch says, I think they could actually identify the make and model of the gun from the video. All right, let me read a couple more. Please note that they refer to BG as a male subject until he gets to the end of the bridge. At the end of the bridge, he's called a male. That is interesting. From what I understand, they went to school together. SP. What's up, shooter? What's up, Freckled? What's up, Cam? Personally think KK with the shots profile had Allen meet the girls there. Also was found in the search under the bridge. Yeah, it is interesting. Well, it says, I don't know. You guys can take it however you want. I'm not going to let my mind be dragged. Oh, was he pointing? Was he pointing the gun? No, it says they seen him say it. They didn't say they seen him pointing. They said they could see and hear this person. To me, it's pretty clear, guys. Not going to get caught up on those types of things. We won't get anywhere. Listen to what the affidavit says. It didn't say they heard him and seen him signaling or indicating. No, they said they could see and hear him. To me, that's they saw his face. But that's just me. SP is asking, why is that video flip? Just to give you a better perspective or a different view. Let us know how that goes, Steffa. Rescue All Dog says, if the 4chan stuff were a friend or relative of Richard Allen, why would they say something like either that or he had connections? I think I don't know. It's hard to know why people are doing what they're doing, especially if they're under the influence or something. They could be trying to confuse along with have a conversation. So this person might be looking for information or trying to understand. Let's say it's Kathy for whatever reason, hypothetically. She's on there and she can't figure out why the hell. Well, she knows it's her husband. She knows that her husband spoke to law enforcement about being there and that he wasn't charged with the crime, right? So in her mind, he's cleared. So it's got to be frustrating for her when everybody's still talking about the guy on the bridge and the bridge guy and this is our number one suspect. And she's like, well, I don't know why he's still a suspect. They've already interviewed him. They know who it is. So this person might be frustrated, having a couple drinks, searching online about information and find something on the Delphi case and decides in their mind they're going to do a little digging information, then also maybe providing a little information. So they may have been trying to figure out, like, why the hell have they not cleared this person? I know it's Richard. I know he spoke to law enforcement. And the craziest thing is when he was arrested, we found out that he did talk to law enforcement. That's the craziest part of all of this. He admitted to being there. So to anybody that was close to Richard Allen knows that he spoke to that conservation officer. His wife, his daughter, his friend, his closest friends. They know that he spoke to somebody about being there and was cleared. So I could honestly see how frustrating it would be for everybody to continue to talk about this bridge guy when you know who the bridge guy is and in your mind you think he's been cleared. Yeah, it's going to be a good one, Miss Thing. I'm going to shoot Steve an email here in the next hour or two. Freckled, if you want to become a member, I don't know if you can do it on your phone. If you do it from your phone, you have to go to your web browser. I know that it's easily done on a desktop or I think even an iPad. But if you go into the description of this video, click that link or open the link in your web browser. Lakeside, what's up? Oh, Steffa joining the crew. Thanks, Steffa. We'll see you tonight. 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Hey, Charlie. CN, what's up? All right. All right, guys, I'm going to log out and I'll catch you guys. I'll catch all you members later today. And I will see you later. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. If you're part of the replay crew, please drop a comment. And I'll make sure to check on those comments and get back to you guys. Members, I'm going to see you later tonight with Steve from True Crime Web. I will see you there. Later, guys.